Hey guys, and welcome back to Seoulite TV. So it looks like in the United States, they're trying to creep in the rollback of abortion rights. And here in Korea, during the whole COVID crisis, they actually crept in the legalization of abortion rights because I wanted to talk about what I found out about the whole Oklahoma situation. You know, how the governor there basically has outlawed abortion there using their kind of like state rights. And I wanted to see like how it compared to the situation in Korea. And in my mind, it was still illegal. But I was just like, oh my gosh, you know, like while we were just like all in your COVID bubble, and if you weren't paying attention to the whole activism with abortion rights in Korea, you would have totally missed it. And because as I was like uncovering the layers of the issue here in Korea, it still hasn't completely finalized, and that's why there hasn't been like a big old announcement on it, because the lawmakers don't want to take accountability, I think, for dragging their heels for like a year and a half. Okay, so here in Korea, officially, in terms of the criminal law, the Constitutional Court has made it legal now for anybody to have an abortion. That was back in 2019. They made a ruling. There was a case that went to the Constitutional Court. They said that denying an abortion to women in Korea would go against the constitutional right to self-determination, the right to human worth and dignity, and the right to pursuit of happiness. And it would also be against the Constitution to punish the doctor for performing this service. And so, up until this point, from 1953, abortions had been illegal in Korea, but not very well enforced. Like if you needed an abortion, you could go get one. And in 1973, they actually made some exceptions. Like if there was genetic disorders, if it was sort of like through incest, or if there were situations where there were diseases, or if it was a result of forced assault, those would be grounds where it would be legal to perform an abortion. And so, you know, I could see how like clinics that would probably use those excuses if they got caught under normal circumstances, they would probably go through the list and just try to like, you know, code it as such. You know, if there's going to be an excuse, they're probably going to code it. But in general, it was officially illegal, and so the Constitutional Court in Korea made it so that criminally it's not illegal anymore. They wanted it to be decided upon in terms of the particulars, like up until what trimester, how many weeks, you know, under what kind of, you know, they're like, you know what, we want the specifics to be handled by the National Assembly, you know, our version of Congress. You know, let the lawmakers, because the lawmakers are much more attuned, and they'll be, you know, because, you know, the judges are busy, you know, they just want to rule on the Constitution, and then they'll leave the particulars in terms of like the actual nitty-gritty laws, you know, like how many weeks and, you know, what the punishment would be to the lawmakers. And so they gave them a deadline of December 2020. And the lawmakers didn't meet that deadline. So what happened was, constitutionally, once the December 2020 rolled around, so like 2021, like January 1st, 2021, it was no longer illegal, but there is a vacuum legally. It's like, you don't know, like, but under what circumstances can you do this? So just in general in Korea, it's not illegal, and they haven't defined the parameters. And I kept searching. I was just like, wait a minute. Like, okay, so when did this bill pass? And it's been kind of like just delayed and pushed back. And I think it's been quietly kind of pushed under the surface because they don't want to take responsibility for delaying on this process. And then again, the whole gender ministry they're trying to abolish. So who's going to really, hold the reins on this whole policy? So there is a policy vacuum. The Constitutional Court did make a recommendation. They did say that they would consider the 22nd week of pregnancy the limit, and that would be the middle of the second trimester. And it's not as if the National Assembly hasn't been doing anything at all. There's just been a lot of competing bills or competing proposals for the law. So these weeks are ranging. So that's the contention, how many weeks, up until what point? And so it's ranging from the 14th week to the 24th week and under different circumstances. And so they're still hashing out the details on how the particulars would work out. But if you're just wondering, now it is legal, but the issue is still access. So the activists are saying that even if it's legal now, there's still not a lot of safe access and destigmatized access to abortions in Korea. And the law is still a little bit unclear. And so there are cases where there are some not so good do-it-yourself at home kind of things that have led to some grotesque situations. So that's just the situation here. How many abortions are conducted in Korea? It is a very hard figure to grasp because a lot of it was done under the table, but from the year 2005 to 2017, they're saying that it's been on a decline. It said there's some studies saying that in 2005, it was about maybe 340,000, and then maybe now it's about 50,000, but you don't know. But basically, that is the range. Some people are saying 50,000 to 500,000 a year. Population of South Korea is about 53 million. Okay, let's talk about Oklahoma. Oklahoma only has a population of 4 million people. That's like 1/3 the size of the Seoul metropolitan area. And so, yes, the abortion debate is about the mother, the fetus, the religion, the health, the future of the mother, the situations that people can get into or trapped in or freed from, like all of those issues that are very important. I don't want to step into that. I want to talk about why does it seem the people who are trying to outlaw abortion are so emotionless, like not the zealotry part, but why does there seem to be like a real cold, calculated political maneuvering with the whole abortion issue that does not seem like, they're trying to say like it's about humanity, and no. I really think it's about this 4 million population and where demographics is destiny. In the United States, demographics, unfortunately, is based on race. And in such a small population, I didn't realize Oklahoma was only 4 million people. If you do not continue to have white babies, those white babies do not become white voters. They do not become white community leaders. They do not become white followers. And your white power structure will diminish and flip. This is a demographic battle, I think, in my mind. And I think we have to kind of start talking about it in that fact when it's the political fight. Because that's the prize that people aren't willing to give up. They're hiding it behind the rights of the fetus. And so anytime like the liberal side attacks a Republican or conservative and says, how can you be so hypocritical and say that you want to preserve the fetus but not care for living children or not give them enough baby formula once they're out? You don't care about the kid once the kid has been birthed. They're not focused on that. And in their mind, it is not a dichotomy because that wasn't their goal to begin with. Their goal is to make sure that there are more white voters being birthed. If you look at the statistics, Oklahoma is the 8th highest fertile state in the United States, or it has the 8th highest fertility rate. So there are a lot of unwed mothers, a lot of also mothers, women in their 20s getting abortions, and about 60% of the people getting abortions are white. So, how many though? In 2017, it's about 4,780. So about 5,000 abortions a year. In 2020, there were about 47,000 births. It's like 50,000. So about 10% of the births are being aborted, and about 60% of these births and 60% of the abortions, it's white people. So the majority of the abortions, the majority of the population that's being taken out is the white population. And so in order to preserve the demographics, this anti-abortion law goes a long way. Why does it go a long way? I was kind of surprised. So the U.S. Congress, there's only 5 districts there. And I was like, okay, well, there's about 250,000 to 300,000 voters in each of those districts. And right now, they're very heavily tilted to the Republicans. I was like, okay, well, that's pretty much, they've got like an advantage where it's not very contested. I don't think it seems like it would be, that big of a deal. It's about maybe like a 2-to-1 lead. However, in one of the districts, it's been flip-flopping, and it's really 50-50. And thousands of people can shift the difference. Now, when you really think about it, so I was like, okay, well, 5,000 a year, but the way that they added it up, over 20 years, that's 100,000 people. 100,000 people in such a small state starts flipping elections. Now, especially when you look at the state legislature races, and, the state legislature is really where, the local laws are made. And those races have only 30,000 votes total. Some of those primaries only have 4,000 votes total. So these districts are small. So it's like 2,000 voters against 2,000 voters, like on each side in the primaries. So you can really start flip-flopping your demographics and the way that power is distributed. If I'm saying there is a reason why the conservatives in this region of the United States are very vehement about anti-abortion, aside from the religious issue, because so a lot of the liberals are always saying yeah, but you're saying you're religious, but you don't seem religious to me, or you say that you're talking about humanity, but you don't seem very humanitarian to me. those arguments don't work on them because in the back of their mind, there's another goal. There's a really important goal that they're not saying out loud. And maybe they'll start saying it out loud because there's a lot of stuff they're starting to say out loud. Like, they're just like, oh, that's supposed to be the quiet conversation. And so I think this is the quiet conversation that needs to now start, being said and being understood by the liberal side because you're talking past each other. So if you're really going to be saying, if you have to put that into the equation. It's not the only thing, all those other issues are super important and they really affect people's lives. But if you're not putting kind of the main thing that makes it a non-negotiable issue that is affecting people who are not even having babies, old people, why are the old people really so, when they're not going to be in this, when's the last time they got knocked up? So, but their well-being can definitely depend on that new crop of babies that in 18 years become voters. And they want it to be the same color that they are to make sure that they continue to live the way that they want to live and have been living under their system. Anyhow, that's how I just found it. And that's what sparked this research into Korea. And if you were wondering, so we're still trying to hash out the specifics of our abortion law situation, but it is no longer illegal. Yeah, it's still not clear how legal it is, and you'll get a different answer from everybody. But so that's why it would be kind of in the gray zone if you've ever, asked people. All right, guys, well, put your comments below. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Tune in next time. Don't forget to subscribe. Find us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Love you.